I bullied the wrong girl. Hi, my name's Sarah. I don't know about you, but I love school. I get straight A's, and I guess I'm kind of pretty because so many people tell me that, and loads of the older boys in school want to take me to their prom. I'd say I'm the most popular girl in school, which is awesome because then I can just order the other kids around. They all want to be my friend, so they'll do anything for me. Every morning, this little dork called Charlie brings me an iced coffee from Starbucks. I think he thinks I'll go on a date with him or something. I mean, yeah, right. But hey, at least I get a free coffee out of it. And then there's Sally. She used to be my friend in primary school, but she's just such a nerd now. I don't even know how I was ever friends with her. She's always reading, and she's never even had a boyfriend. Sometimes she still tries to speak to me, and I'm like, ew, do I know you? She actually started crying last week when I told her to leave me alone. What a loser. There's also this other girl, Sophie, I just can't stand. She's the only one who gets better grades than me. Always A+, and it drives me crazy. How dare she do better than me? She never ever puts her hand up, but the teachers all seem to love her regardless. In math class last week, the teacher asked a super hard question, and I knew the answers straight away, so I raised my hand. After I'd given my answer, before the teacher could even respond, this smarty pants Sophie girl turned to me and said, "Sorry, but that's not the correct answer." The correct answer is, yeah, blah blah blah. I couldn't believe she'd embarrassed me like that in front of the whole class. She'd pay for this. After school, I waited around and decided to give her a little scare, just, to put her in her place. I started following her home and decided I'd jump out at the right moment and give her a piece of my mind, once and for all. I managed to get ahead of her and hide behind a tree. I was all set to jump out and show her who's boss, when suddenly she disappeared. Where'd she gone? Then I realized this was the tree outside her house. She was standing on the step outside her door. Why wasn't she going inside? All of a sudden, the door opened and her dad grabbed her and she went flying inside. I heard her cry out. I didn't know what to do. Even from behind the tree, I could hear him screaming at her, saying she needed to walk home faster if she ever wanted to get into an Ivy League college. I could hear her crying. I don't know what came over me, but suddenly, I felt so bad. What was I doing? This poor girl was under so much pressure. No wonder she always got A+. She had no choice. I went home that night feeling like the worst person on the planet. I was nothing but a bully. I was no better than Sophie's dad. I needed to change. The next day at school, I waited by her locker and apologized to her for the way I acted when she corrected me in class. She just nodded and walked away. I noticed she always sat alone at lunch, so that day I went to sit next to her. She shrunk away when I approached her, and I realized she was afraid of me. In that moment, I felt horrible. Why had I been treating people so badly? Especially Sophie, who had this horrid home life. I sat down opposite her and smiled. I introduced myself and made some small talk. The next day, I brought in some cake my mum had baked and shared it with her. Slowly but surely, we became friends, and one day I plucked up the courage to ask her about the bruise on her wrist. She broke down into tears. I hugged her and said it's okay, we can sort it out together. I took her to the school counselor and waited outside while she told him everything that had been happening at home. She started going there once a week for counseling sessions, and eventually the counselor called her parents in to discuss what was going on. I was there for Sophie the whole way through it all, and by the end of term, we were best friends. I still feel terrible that I judged her before I even got to know her. I had no idea the demons she was facing at home. In fact, after that day that I followed Sophie home, I've never picked on anyone ever again. I bought Charlie a coffee and decided to go on a date with him. It wasn't right for me to judge him on how he looked. We actually got on so well and had such a fun evening, and now he often hangs out with me and Sophie. And even Sally too. We made up and I couldn't be happier to have her back in my life. The thing is, no one deserves to be bullied because you never really know someone's story until you get to know them. So be kind. What do you think of this story? Feel free to share your comments and stories in the comments section below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.
Hi, my name is Abigail, and this is the story of how I got revenge on my boyfriend. My boyfriend's name is Adam. He's on the football team and sometimes gets a bit carried away with the other guys and can be kind of mean. There's this guy in my class called James who is a total nerd, but also a genuinely nice person. And they kept making fun of how skinny he is until I eventually told him to cut it out. But then he did one thing that I could never forgive him for. My best friend is called Catherine, and we've been friends since we were babies. We've done everything together and been there for each other through thick and thin. Catherine is quite short, a bit chubby, and has a wart on her cheek. But I don't care at all what she looks like because she is my best friend. I've occasionally caught my boyfriend and his friends making fun of her behind her back about it, before I snapped at them to stop. I'm quite clever, and Adam often struggles with his schoolwork, mainly because he's always focusing on football. I help him with it most evenings, though, so he can pass his classes. We had a test coming up that we both knew he was going to struggle to pass, so he asked me if I could sit by him and let him read my answers. I refused, obviously. I wasn't going to risk getting expelled from school. Adam was not happy about this, and we got into a really big argument. The next day, I paid the price. Adam knew me well and knew that the thing that would annoy me the most would be attacking my friends. All over social media were pictures of Catherine, except they'd been photoshopped into a witch with heaps of warts and green skin. I was furious and felt terrible for Catherine, but I couldn't believe that Adam would do this just to get at me for not letting him cheat. He was in for it now. I was smart at school, but I also happened to be smart at getting my revenge. I was sure that the best tricks would be simple and old-fashioned. He was in for it. My first trick was simple. I'd pretend not to have seen the photos online and would apologize to Adam and agree to him copying my test. But I purposely wrote all the wrong answers when I saw him looking, then quickly changed them for the right ones just at the end, so I knew when we got the results he would fail and I wouldn't. I asked to go to the bathroom at lunch, and instead balanced a tub of paint just inside his locker, so when he opened it, it would spill out. When he turned up to maths bright yellow, it was all I could do to fake concern so he wouldn't know it was me. As he sat in his chair in maths, I smiled to myself. Sure enough, an hour later at the end of the lesson, when he stood up, his chair came with him. I had poured super glue over it. The best part is that I have a perfect poker face, and as Adam's friends were always playing tricks on each other, he still had no idea it was me. Once he had extracted himself from the chair, Adam was looking quite irritated. But I wasn't done. I have a great relationship with the staff in the canteen, and I gave them a special request to do when Adam came in for lunch. Although the rest of us got pizza for lunch, for some reason they had strangely run out when Adam arrived, and only had pea soup left, which I know he hates. In every class he had that day, I went in beforehand and wrote on the board, "Only cowards humiliate lovely girls." Everyone knew what the note was talking about, and before long, everyone knew who had written it too. It's fair to say that Adam was not having a good day. At the end of school, I bumped into him walking home. People were giving him scathing looks, knowing what he had done to Catherine. Adam started ranting to me about his football friends, saying that as soon as he knew who had done this to him, they would be sorry. I deliberated about whether or not to tell him whether it was me, but decided not to. He's definitely learned his lesson. Please share your opinions or stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.